Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome back to this YouTube channel where we take on all kinds of topics that are sort of relevant to understanding narcissistic people, difficult relationships, toxic situations. My hope is by giving you this information, you'll be able to actually make better choices for yourself or make sense of the messes you may already be in. So I'm going to be taking on a topic today that I know, I'm already going to get negative comments and negative emails. I'm starting to learn the patterns here. But I think this one was worth mentioning because even if it gets some people mad at me, it is what it is. Just don't be too mean in the emails or comments. That does hurt my feelings. But I am going to take on something that I've actually seen survivors of narcissistic abuse really struggle with. And this is this whole concept of manifesting, whatever you want. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the dangers of believing and sort of manifesting when you're dealing with a narcissist or you're dealing with narcissistic abuse. Okay? Now, since The Secret, that book, The Secret, came out, that was, I think, like 2006 or 2005, something like that, this concept of manifesting, that's manifesting what you want, what you need. It has literally taken the world by storm, and it strangely seems to have gotten like a second renaissance. I'm not a fan of this at all. There's something a little bit blamey about it, that people are being told, the things you want haven't come because you didn't manifest hard enough. And it can create a really problematic and perhaps even dangerous paradigm for people who are up against the real and perilous stuff in their lives, such as cancer or a significant health crisis, as though somebody isn't manifesting, a cure or healing or better state of mind or something. When we bring all of this manifesting chit-chat into the world of narcissism, I also think it can take a very problematic turn. My understanding of manifesting, and obviously I am not a manifesting expert of any kind, so if I'm not getting the subtleties right, I apologize. But my understanding of manifesting is that if you focus enough thought, intention, and mental energy toward a positive growth-oriented goal, a certain job, wanting to meet a partner, to have a long-term relationship, a certain goal, then you will achieve it. It will happen. It's a very seductive framework, right? Because it puts all of us in the driver's seat where our aspirations are. We want to be the ones who are in charge. And it flicks away all those pesky issues like luck, timing, privilege, and reality. Over the years, I have worked with many people clinically who hold dear to the idea of manifesting and would actually find my yammering on about narcissism and toxic relationships actually quite distracting and problematic, and they would tell me in so many words. I found all this manifesting talk to be troubling because I would watch people agonize over the idea that maybe all of this narcissistic abuse was happening because they aren't manifesting well enough. They aren't writing down their love goals down enough times per day. They aren't doing things in a specific way. They're not manifesting right, or they're blocked. And so that's why it's not happening for them, which is an interesting dark side. Manifesting and the thoughts around manifesting is you're told basically that you're in the driver's seat. You can manifest what you want, and you can basically think your way to happy. But when the manifesting doesn't work, the manifesting folks, bam, they blame the manifester. It's actually a really good business model, not such a good psychological model. And yes, I know, I already told you this, I'm waiting and dreading the comments that are telling me that I'm not thinking about this right and they were able to manifest themselves out of a narcissistic relationship. And that I'm wrong and that manifesting work, if it has worked for you and continues to work for you. Listen, as a psychologist who just wants everyone to be in as healthy a space as possible, I am a strong believer that if something that someone's doing, that someone has a strategy or they have a daily practice that's working for them, and that daily practice is not harming themselves or someone else, then by all means do what works for you. But I do hope you can hear this video from the perspective that I'm offering, because there are survivors of narcissistic abuse out there who may be getting more hurt by these principles of manifesting. Unfortunately, too many of the success stories of people who manifested are kind of told backwards. So the 19-year-old who achieved every goal they had and become a pop star, rock star, tech star, whatever, and they're like, I manifested this. Or the pop star who is talking from their mansion at the age of 22, I manifested all of this. I'm always curious when I get the opportunity to chat with manifestors who are actually in process. They haven't gotten the record deal or the mansion or whatever, and how they process the sort of period of time before the manifestations and during the manifesting. So this thing hasn't manifested yet. Because I'd imagine there's a lot of people out there who are trying to manifest, but the thing hasn't shown up. So let's go back to narcissism. Many, and I mean many people, have gotten into the weeds with their narcissistic relationships because of all of this manifesting talk. Now, let me tell you what I mean by that. The idea then, right, is that is that you could possibly manifest the narcissism out of the narcissist. I have worked with many partners of narcissists who have said, I'm going to manifest. I'm going to manifest the marriage I want or the relationship I want. I'm going to manifest that moment when he or she or they finally get it. I'm going to manifest a healthy, happy relationship. I'm going to manifest a baby. I'm going to manifest what our house is going to look like when the baby comes, whatever it is. Then there are people on the front end who want to manifest a perfect relationship. Or even worse, they want to manifest a soulmate. And then they meet someone who ticks lots of boxes. They manifest and somebody comes along. Unfortunately, in manifesting, more than a few boxes are often a little bit superficial. The person's going to look a certain way. They're going to have a certain lifestyle. They're going to have a certain kind of job, live in a certain place. And when the red flags start popping up with new manifested person, they're just ignored or pushed away or justified in the name of the power of manifestation. I manifested this person. The universe wouldn't send me the wrong soulmate. I need to keep manifesting because it is healthy. So there's no room for red flags in manifesting models. And trust me, the universe actually still needs a lot more training in not sending narcissists to people under the guise of them being your soulmate. And then the manifester gets deeper in to their so-called manifested partner. And anyone who has been through a narcissistic divorce knows that you are not going to be able to manifest a sympathetic family court judge, nor are you going to be able to manifest a fair financial settlement, and you're not going to be able to manifest a sane co-parenting arrangement. This can all relate also to family of origin issues. The kind of thing where a person is in a family and they say, I'm going to manifest my wedding and it's perfect and the this and the that and everyone's going to get along. Or they may even try to manifest something that I'm going to have this loving relationship with a parent. Again, the manifesting part is sort of happening on your side of the street. And perhaps, and I give the manifesting model this, perhaps things may get a little better because you, the manifestor, is trying harder. But please trust me when I tell you the narcissist didn't get the memo. Even if they did, they didn't read it. And they aren't going to turn into a loving parent or turn off their egocentricity on your wedding day or your birthday or vacation day or whatever it is supposed to be. They're not in on the whole manifestation thing. Ultimately, the greatest concern for me is that the manifester, and I've seen this happen time and time again, will blame themselves, that they are the one that's responsible because they manifested the wrong soulmate, or they can't they can't fix the relationship patterns. They're not manifesting well enough, or they didn't manifest the wedding day right. They didn't manifest the relationship right. They didn't manifest their goals right, any of it. And I've seen this happen literally right in front of my eyes. That the person saying, you know what, this is all my fault. I wasn't manifesting well enough. I've gotten a lot better now. And that I'm blocked. It's all me. And it's heartbreaking because it's not. And I will not sit back and let that kind of blaming talk be leveled at people walking through the incredibly confusing landscape of narcissistic relationships. You cannot manifest narcissism away. You cannot manifest gaslighting away. You can't manifest it away. I cannot manifest it away. Because if I could, I would. These relationships and personality patterns are unhealthy for anyone and everyone. And magical thinking will not make them go away. Many survivors of narcissistic abuse blame themselves for these relationships and what has happened in these relationships. They tell themselves that they didn't try hard enough, that they didn't look good enough, that they just weren't enough. I do not think that it's right that we add to this list that I didn't manifest hard enough. My guess, I mean, again, I'm always trying to understand what the science might be underlying this. And a lot of people say it's worked for them. My guess is on the science, if you will, on manifesting actually working for a person, might have two parts of it. One part of it is something we call confirmatory bias. We find the evidence that supports what we need to see. And how, when we tell a story backwards, there's a lot of confirmatory bias. If I succeed, I manifested it. If I didn't succeed, well, those people are talking about bad luck. So we have biased evidence of only those people who succeeded talking about how incredible manifesting is. We don't hear as much about the people who weren't able to manifest the things they wanted. They kind of probably give up on the whole model. The other is that if you really are putting all of yourself into manifesting, all of yourself, that in some cases means that you put yourself out in the world a little bit more. You focus on this one thing and you may talk about it more. You may connect dots in a way that are very much in the service of the goal you're attempting to manifest. And all of this together may be making you more of what we call agentic. To be agentic means you actually do more things towards your goal because you're always working on the manifestation. And that may make your goal happen. You may be more likely to, for example, if you're manifesting a soulmate, you might be more likely to go out, meet someone on a date, put yourself out there more in the name of your manifesting. But then it wasn't the manifesting, it was the doing. There is even more compelling literature, I think, about the dangers of manifesting. Some of it's actually quite interesting to read. The idea that manifesting actually doesn't adequately account for real cultural and social issues. Things like a person with connections, privilege, or education may manifest a lovely apartment in New York City and a job at a fashion magazine, and may just happen to have some family or school connections or support that made that happen. Is that manifesting? Because a person who may not have that same level of privilege or access, may not have the same resources or connections or or even supports. No matter how hard they manifest, they're probably not going to work at the fancy magazine or have the New York apartment. There's a real risk that manifesting benefits those who are already at an advantage. It's hard to admit, but a fair amount of life is luck. We all know it. We don't always want to admit it. And if you do have luck plus hard work, that's it. It's the human lottery, right? You're going to win. When I was a little girl, I remembered reading a book about a girl who wanted a horse. And in the story, she wished for it every night, and she said her evening prayers or whatever incantation she was saying at night about wanting this horse. And then apparently where this gal lived, there was a backyard, and there was like an old decrepit shed, and she would work with her parents and I asked for help to fix it, and she nailed the boards and painted it, and she put hay in it, and she put water in it. And every day as it got built, she went out, rain, snow, sunshine, she would take out a brush and pretend to brush the horse, and then would always bring out hay and water. I mean, I guess as an adult now, clearly the book was about it. Her parents were putting her through a test, because after a year of going to this empty shed where there was, or with a stall where there was no horse, she got a horse. I remember reading that as a kid, and I guess that was a book about manifesting, because I read that book in the 60s or 70s. And I remember as a kid, I wished I could manifest things. And I did, I tried. And nothing I wanted manifested. But the one thing it did yield was I worked really, really hard in school as an attempt to achieve the things I'd hoped to manifest. It was interesting. I found a list of my wishes in my parents' basement recently when I was helping them out. And I got to tell you, I didn't manifest anything on that list. And I cried and I cried when I read it. But sadly, as a little girl, I felt that I was the problem, that I wasn't good enough. It was reinforcing an existing message that I already had, and that I wasn't deserving. That mindset that I wasn't deserving, that I didn't do it right, has dogged me for my entire adulthood. Now, in my case, I made other things happen in my life, clearly nothing on that list. But whatever I've created in my life, in my career, what I do here on YouTube, whatever, as a professor, as a parent, I didn't manifest it. I studied, I worked hard, I wrote, I researched, I had my heart broken, and I kept going. I mean, if that's foolish or wise, I don't know, but I kept going. That's not manifestation. That's persistence. And there's a difference. So when it comes to narcissism, I can promise you this. Magical thinking is not your friend. It's going to keep you stuck. It's all about pushing through narcissistic abuse. It's all about taking a long, hard look at a painful situation, engaging in radical acceptance, and figuring out your painful path forward. Your energy can then go to building yourself up, valuing yourself despite your circumstances, to let go of the past voices that limit you, to be realistic about toxic relationships, and commit to finding meaning and purpose for yourself. And if the shit you want shows up, you didn't manifest it, you made it happen. No magic, just reality. So those are my thoughts on some of the pressures people are getting around manifesting and some of the criticisms people who are in narcissistically abusive relationships have faced. This is not your fault. For many people, once they get the information, I'm like, oh, that's how these relationships work? Then they say, yeah, no, I'm not doing this anymore. It's just people didn't know. This doesn't have to do with manifesting. It has to do with knowledge. Thanks again.